Classic TV fans, Rick9G here. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Gilligan's Island, more specifically about what the island looked like and what the show has to tell us about that. If you're ever interested in other Gilligan's Island videos, make sure to check out the link in the description for my playlist with over 60 videos that you can enjoy. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and for making it the huge success that it is. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the different ways that the island looked. Now you may think, well, it's obvious to me the island looked a very specific way. Well, this is what you're probably used to, and that's the intro look into the island. That is Gilligan's Island with the title on it. This is what we think of when we think of Gilligan's Island. But let's look at a couple episodes where we see maps and actual images of the island and see how similar they are to each other, and then figure out what the island actually looks like. Let's look at the first time that we see a fairly accurate map or a fairly accurate drawing to what the Gilligan's Island look like. It comes from episode 58. It's called Forward March, and it's a map that the professor made of the island. If you look at Forward March, the castaways figured that they're going to be under attack very soon. There was a grenade that was thrown that was lodged at the castaways that almost hurt them, and so they're scared. They're thinking that they have to basically bear arms, that they have to go and protect their island, protect the women and so forth, and all these crazy zany things happen. It's a really good one. At the end they find out it's this gorilla that's just going a little crazy, throwing things like grenades and weapons and things like that. It's kind of comical in the end. But when the professor is mapping out the island, this is what he comes up with. Now if you look at it, it looks fairly accurate. I mean, it doesn't look like something that he just drew within 5 seconds. It seems like he took time, almost like he knew what he was doing. I believe he mentioned in another episode that he was like a cartographer, that he actually knew how to draw maps. So this makes sense. You see the lagoon right in the middle, and you see how the ocean kind of dips inside to the actual map, and you see some things. I don't know, to me they look like little lakes or just maybe mountains or other things, but you can actually see the outlines, and they're very sharp outlines around the north side, let's say, of the island. We even get the compass rose, so we know what the north, south, west, and east is. We see the lagoons right in the middle of the island. Now, the reason why I'm giving you all this detail is because later on we see two other images, and then we come to think, well, what does the island actually look like? Because they're a little conflicting. Let's go to episode 75. It's called Man with the Net. And in this one, we see butterfly collector Lord Beasley Waterford. And he is trying to find the pussycat swallowtail, and he's going all over the island, drawing, just making everyone go nuts. He's drawing a blank from everyone, everyone's trying to figure out how to get this butterfly, because if he catches a butterfly, he can basically send his flare out, launch the flare to ask for someone to pick him up, and they can all leave the island, which is what he promises. Now, unfortunately, we don't get a deep look or a frontal view of the map that he's drawn. It's a little more crudely drawn, but what's interesting is it's very different from the first one. Now, you could say it's roughly the same. It has the things like the lagoon in the middle, but it's just recessed more to the south. And then it has a mountain range on the left-hand top side. Then you actually see where the huts are. You see where the huts and essentially the table that the castaways use. And then on the bottom right, he has it a little more detailed than the professor. You see palm trees, things like that, and he's trying to map out the island. It is a very different shape. You could even say that if the professor's was the accurate one, that Lord Beasley's was a guesstimate or just more of an estimation of what the island might look like. So I know a lot of you may say, okay, Rick, this isn't that dissimilar, but let's look at the third map and see why this may destroy the whole narrative. Well, this is the one, everyone. This is the clincher. It's episode 90. It's called Splashdown. It's the one where we have astronauts going around the globe, essentially, and passing on top of the island in space, and they're looking down upon everyone, the castaways, the island, and so forth. But before that happens, the castaways are trying to contact the spacecraft sometime to say, hey, we're here, get us off the island, please come save us. The only solution they're thinking of, because they hear that the astronauts can see the bright lights from Mexico City. So what they decided to do is chop down a lot of trees and light the trees on fire so that they could see a message, an SOS. Unfortunately, the trees, the limbs get moved a little. Instead of SOS, it spells out Sol, S-O-L, which is the name of one of the astronauts. And so when they're looking down their viewfinder or down their camera, whatever you want to call it, that's not a map. That's supposed to be an actual view of the island. And what's really crazy, look to see how different that is. Yeah, it has the lagoon area, but that's it. The island seems to curve. It's more of an oblong, long island versus a circular island that we see on the other side. So we have three conflicting views of what the island looks like, and it begs the question, why were they so off? Why were they so different? Who is more accurate, and which one do you think is more accurate depending on what we've seen from the actual show? Now, I do have an answer. I won't say it in the video. I want to see what all of you have to say, and maybe I'll comment it down in the comments. I love to interact with you in the comments. I love to answer things. I love to play devil's advocate. I love to question some of your comments. It's fun. This is part of the fun that I have, so hopefully you do that too. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button and leave a comment. It's all free. It's all available for you, and it is a great way to be able to interact with the Rick9G community. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to always stay positive, always better yourself, and most importantly, be hopeful. Thank you so much to my supporters on Patreon, especially my diamond tier patrons. New patron Gerard D, David D, Citizen Kane 359, Greg S, Kevin K, Ricky, Sally, and Vito L. Make sure to check the links in the description to see how you could be on this list as well.